Playdead's Limbo is a decade-old game that people love. It's completely monochrome in design and nobody speaks, not even the main character. The only interactions with other characters are hostile and off-putting. The themes are unsettling and confront real subjects like mass infection and human extinction. It often approaches the supernatural. Who would enjoy a game with no dialogue, no voice acting, no character dynamics, and no major plot lines aside from a few basic mechanics? This game is sort of basic, it's just running and puzzles, I said to myself. It's a void. And then I played it. Limbo was released July 21st, 2010, as a side-scrolling puzzle platformer in which you play as a small boy running both from something and in pursuit of it. Upon its release, Limbo took YouTube by storm. I mean, everybody was playing it. Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, your mom, everybody was playing this game. It's funny because I didn't actually get around to playing it myself until a couple of weeks ago. I struggled a lot. It was a very challenging and frustrating experience, and there were multiple times where I felt stupid. Go fuck yourself, card puzzle. But I kept playing. This game kept me coming back. A little something I've noticed is that when playing a game, we identify as the character we're playing as. If I sit you down and say, "Hi there, stranger, you are Bob, an opaque catman who lives inside a treehouse in Wisconsin," suddenly, you are Bob. You identify with the character immediately, regardless of their task, and especially if the goal is noble or intriguing. When I play a game and I'm speaking aloud, I use me, I, and us. I don't often see separation between the me in the real world and the me in game, at least not while playing it. Are we in love with that person? Did we kill someone? Where are we going? We don't know, but we care because we are both the vehicle and the passenger. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Darkwood, Faith, the Unholy Trilogy, Silent Hill, Lisa, the Painful, Off, and a number of other games completely immerse us in this way. Limbo is not special or different in its structure. At its heart, the game is simply a protagonist who is solving puzzles while running to the right. But by not establishing any details other than those we can pick up from the environment, Limbo forces the player to ask these questions. How did we get here? Why are we running? Where are we running to? Where are our parents? Why are people trying to kill us? What shoe size does the spider wear? We usually understand the main character, their goal, and how they're able to get to that goal to some degree. But Limbo chooses to omit a great deal of information. We know our character, but barely. He's shrouded in darkness. The boy is running, but the game hasn't even given us his name, much less the reason for his travel. We also know he's being chased after and actively sabotaged at some points, but not why. And each time something is revealed, it leaves only more questions. You want to keep playing this game because you need to fill in the blanks. It gives you just enough information to sympathize with the character's motivations and confront this gigantic spider, but not too much. I've seen a handful of people make theory videos on the plot, the story, the character's name, his sister, his social security number, his grandma's favorite food. I greatly respect these kinds of videos, and God knows I haven't got the skill for it myself. Not everyone can be a Wendigoon, but this is a game made to intrigue. From an artistic perspective, the more questions, the better, and that is exactly what is done here. As soon as you think you know something about this game, it throws a curveball at you. Everything about Limbo is a mystery, all the way down to the color palette. This game is grayer than the health inspector in that one episode of SpongeBob. No, but really, there's no color. Okay. So what? So you're forced to look for things that aren't black and gray. I choose not to try and explain the lore or storyline behind this game. I think that it would be counterintuitive to the point of the video. But if we are expected to understand Limbo from an objective standpoint based on the game's material, then we must peel back some layers. I had a difficult time gathering verifiable sources for the game's title since it's rooted in Catholic religion, but overall, I gathered that it represents the space in which unbaptized children who have passed on are sent to through no fault of their own. Children are presumed innocent and sent to a place that is not hell and yet not quite heaven either. Merriam-Webster cites it as an abode of souls that are, according to Roman Catholic theology, barred from heaven because of not having received Christian baptism. If Limbo, as most people understand it, is a neutral place, then it makes sense that it might be gray, representing neutrality. This is a place in the middle betwixt heaven and hell. Most people associate Limbo with purgatory, although they are not the same. Purgatory is thought to be a process by which people are expiated of their sins before entering heaven. Source, the Bible. But back to the concept of color. Gray and varying shades of black are a fantastic choice for this game. It keeps the player honed in on the tasks at hand without becoming overwhelmed. From a design perspective, it's a brilliant idea to keep the entire game subdued, except for the things the player should really pay attention to. The color scheme is admittedly pretty calming and makes some of the more difficult puzzles bearable as well. Darkwood does this too, manipulating color so you're drawn to the things that actually matter. Wolfman, my beloved. Anyways, a game that is almost entirely one color doesn't exactly sound exciting when proposed to most players. However, Rain World and Noita both use a subdued color palette that consists mostly of grays and darker shades of red. What about Hollow Knight, Fear and Hunger, Endo-Parasitic, or Grease? These games work because your mind is trained to see colors that matter more than the majority. It's very effective. The brightest whites in Limbo are used for key elements of puzzles, as well as to signal danger. When you see parasites, the white of their fleshy forms visibly squirm, and the sound of their being crushed cuts through heavy machinery and natural ambience. So focused on progression, you feel as though you are actually there. In combination with the music and this halo of dark static around the screen, it's an experience to be remembered. It's time for my favorite part of Limbo, the music. Limbo's sound design and music was masterfully crafted by Martin Stake Anderson. The title screen's slow drones have this steady, higher tone in the background. It feels warm and somber, but it's also tinged with hope. Don't worry, it won't last long. This constant tone rings in the background and then gathers together with a moving melody around the first minute. It's a motif that reappears in the rest of the tracks, and it has a feeling of weightlessness. It's very serious and cinematic, to say the least. Boy's Fort plays when you approach what seems to be a stronghold full of other people. Another note rings out over tones much darker than the menu theme, but it mimics a raid siren as you trek uncomfortably through an environment that does not want you. It feels as malicious as the people you encounter, who constantly goad you into death. City is a hopeful ambient track that plays during one of the most familiar places in the game. Pops of electricity accompany a chorus of warm synths as you hop from letter to letter on the defective hotel sign. Synthetic strings propose a deep longing in the idea of tragedy. There were people here once. It's comforting to finally be in an environment you understand, but it's clear that an area so commonplace has now been made alien to you. Rotating Room is a horrible, twisted orchestral piece with the sound of a fucking saw closely on your heels. This song overwhelmed me so much I had to stop and take a break the first time I streamed this. The discordant notes make for great chaos. It kept making me think of like shredded flesh. I don't know, man. It gives you anxiety, which is exactly what the composer wanted, so thanks, Martin. Sister's power is in its beginning notes. Thin, shrill strings slice through the rumbling noises of machinery as you see who is presumed to be someone important to the main character. She is shrouded in white light and you are drawn to her, but then are forced to turn away from her by the control of a parasite who is burrowing into your brain. Later you return to the spot where she was of your own accord, but she is gone. Hopefully you will see her again. Gravity Jump is admittedly the best track in the entire game. It's played at the end. You are expected to thoroughly understand the rhythm of this muted, bouncing drum beat, timing your jump to the exact moment the notes bundle together and the drum starts back up again. You are given a few lines to listen to the unfiltered rolling, and then at 15 seconds the song feels as if it's gone underwater. It progresses as you pass each test, with the title theme gently reverberating in the background. At around the 3-minute mark, your character crashes through a glass wall. The modulating note in the background ceases its ringing. The song fades out. Roll credits. Limbo's soundtrack is, to say the least, impressive. The sound design and music switch hands frequently throughout gameplay. When there isn't any music playing, you are relaxed but also unsettled at the same time. As with other games I love, it's a strange blend of fear and tranquility. Rarely, however, do I see such a strong array of musical pieces that stand apart from the game like this. It's not just nice to listen to, it's a key element of the gameplay, dog. I hope we get more cool soundtracks like this one. Putting together all of the sounds and music and the pretty static of this dark game, where is the substance? If we're not going to discuss the plot, then what else is there? The puzzles. We're going to discuss the puzzles now. Most, if not all, of the problems in Limbo surround the concepts of weight, gravity, and environmental manipulation. Playing through the game a second time, I was astounded by how real everything felt. When our character lands, it feels heavy because he collapses into himself a little. You are constantly reminded that you are just a little guy. The sound of the grass crunching beneath our feet and the rush of water makes you feel incredibly helpless, especially in the later stages. To make matters worse, we can't swim! So instead of treading water, we have to watch our character sink beneath the surface and make terrible gurgling noises. There's no invincibility frames either. If you don't make a jump, the punishment is unforgiving. Thankfully, you will be be respawned just before the puzzle, so you can give it another try. But if there's anything worse than starting over, it's being forced to see your character die by like an inch. The problems are challenging and become more difficult as the game progresses, but this also makes you feel great after you finish them. The best puzzles in the game are the gravity puzzles, hands down. I really like that these problems give you the most amount of time to find a solution. You don't feel rushed, and if you're stuck, you can take a moment to enjoy the scenery. My favorite one is the upside down room with the elevator and the turrets, because you have to independently understand each element and then put them together to progress. Also, it made me really mad. While upside down, you can still see the silhouette of the forest in the background and shadows of debris hanging from tree branches too. It's really cool. As an aside, many of the puzzles feel very mean. I don't mean like the developers feel mean or that the game is unfair, but the idea that a small boy can fall into a fucking circular saw and you have to watch his bloody limbs bounce around if you don't jump correctly makes you feel upset. It's understood from the beginning that the world is cruel to the child, and that even the humans who are facing the very same elements are not on your side. The spider is probably the nicest person here, and you kill her the first hour. She's dead now, so I hope you're happy with yourself for what you've done. Limbo is a beautiful example of what a horror game can be, if only it relies on the saying, show, don't tell. Many people don't enjoy horror games that span the player with jump scares. It is loud, uncreative, and annoying. That's understandable, and in lots of games, jump scares are the only payoff for hard work. Notes full of exposition and plot can sometimes be a helpful addition to a game if done well, but I am extremely impressed with Limbo's ability to remove this element entirely and still function as a game just based off context clues. We are made to observe the details and invent the story, all while pushing forward. Horror at its finest is when you are suffering and afraid but are made to keep going. You want to see the end. It's at our core to survive whenever we can, to succeed our circumstances. Controlling a child taps into that inner drive to protect him, or at least to make sure he doesn't get crushed by a comically large rock. So what happens at the end then? Limbo gives the player with an ending that, while vague, is a far cry from the previous horrors. Seeing the worst that can happen to our character has wired us to want more for the child, and even if things don't completely make sense, we are content with the conclusion. The best part about this game is that even without a coherent plot or a cast of charming characters, it's still an enjoyable puzzle game with lovely music. Other games are so tied down by plot that it is difficult to enjoy without being told what's going on, but Limbo has little regard for your knowledge and doesn't really reward you for what you already know. That could definitely be seen as a negative, but I don't know, I kind of like the mystery. You are in Limbo, and it's hard to be anywhere else. Thank you for allowing me to discuss this game. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Truth be told, I was halfway through another game analysis right before this one, but it had to be scrapped at the last minute due to some extraneous circumstances. So please let me know if you can think of any good horror games to dissect. I do already have some good ideas, but yeah, that's it. Really enjoy this game. Please go play it for yourself. It's really good. And you can even play it on Mac. That's great. We love that. Okay, until next time, goodbye, stranger.